Hello there, this is a second episode to Studying Overseas mini-series, and in this one I will discuss what I would do if I were interested in making another master's course or a PhD course. Now let me just clarify this right from the start. They are not what we believe they are. These courses are not about helping you study a certain research area. No, these courses are usually teaching you how to compose your ideas and how to compose your arguments, how to write practically. Therefore, the expectations must be different than what we usually approach a PhD or a master's with. Second, there will be altogether 4 main messages. The second message is that if you are about to write either a master's or a PhD, if you are in a position to skip the master's, go for the PhD immediately. Don't waste your time with the master's. Because why? Usually the allowed word count for a master's is between 12,000, somewhere it is 20, and 40,000 words. And when I was writing my PhD, I came to realize that actually this is the word count which is the weirdest. You cannot really go in depth in anything in a 20,000, 40,000 word count. No, you get confused how to reduce, what to miss off, and actually, no, it's not worth it. If it is 40,000 words, go for the PhD immediately. That is 100,000 words. Sometimes it is even short, you will realize, but that's another thing. Go for the PhD if you can, if you have any opportunity to skip the master's course, because that's just a waste of time. However, within the second main message, right from the start, don't believe how short time is necessary to actually write. In any writing exercise, the actual writing, when we type in and then edit what we have written, takes up only 5% of the whole time required for a good essay or for a good thesis. 5%. Maybe I told you even more than what is required. No, writing is actually quickly. It goes smooth on once everything is clear in our head. So don't worry about writing right from the start. Yes, take notes and organize your thoughts and what you learned, but no, don't worry about writing that much. And here is one line where typical supervisors don't really tell you this. Usually they expect you to write from the start. This is a mistake. I don't think that's a good idea, but yeah, you need to be prepared that they will expect you to start writing from day one. Well, okay, but if they expect you to do this, I recommend a trick. Usually they ask you to report on your progress in every fortnight or even in every week at the start. Then you have progress reports at 6 months, 18 months, and 30 months during a PhD. And don't worry about those, because you will see that for a PhD or for any topic, 1 year is enough. 1 year. 3 years is actually saying 2 things. First, the candidates don't know how to write a thesis. Actually, that is true to an extent, because their supervisors never tell them I have an idea that actually the supervisors don't really know what they have to expect in a PhD course, but that's another problem. So never worry about the word count, it will pile up very quickly. So the third really important thing to bear in mind, and this is also something what supervisors may not even know. A thesis should be a contribution to scientific thinking. You need to create something new, either by observing something that has never been observed before. Yeah, that's the best. Or expand on existing observations and tests with new methodologies and observe them from another theoretical perspective. But you need to create something theoretically new, and that's the challenge, because most of us believe that what we experience we need to share. Actually no, we need to create something new research, and that's what nobody can be prepared in advance. Just to show you how corrupt academia has become, typically when they apply for funding, they set up a research agenda and they state what the deliveries of the certain research will be in a certain time frame. Now, no one can predict what the delivery is, what they will create in the end would be. No one, because if they are at the start of the research, they just can't know. It's that simple. So what they usually do is they perform their research, and when they have the results, they apply for funding, claiming that this will be a new research. They claim what they will deliver, and then they get the funding. They deliver on time. Yeah, if they had done the research already, it would have been very easy. And with time, they can show themselves as reliable. And with that funding, they actually fund new research for which they have never requested fundings before. So this is the tricky way. So in advance, before you start a PhD, you can never know what you will deliver in the end. But and yeah, it's something new. So let's say you have a research area and you can compose a good question. Composing a good question is already a challenge. Normally when people start a PhD, they have a vague idea what they want to know more about. That's the research area. And for example, I wanted to write about New Zealand, but with those concepts that were already established in foreign policy theories, I couldn't really write about what I wanted to write about. So I squeezed in my research into one of the concepts, and then I explored certain policy areas from that concept. It was clear. But therefore you need to be very much aware of all the theories that addressed similar concepts and similar phenomena. And this takes time. This is the most what it takes. When you go through all these readings about theories and also some empirical articles, that's when you can say what your real research question is. And then you can choose the methodology, how to approach it, and then you can present your findings. And actually this is a very simplistic structure of a PhD. In the introduction you set out your question. Actually writing the introduction is easiest when you write it in the end of the whole exercise. So what you need to do is after the introduction, compose the main arguments from the theories that addressed similar or maybe even the same area. That's the so-called theoretical framework. Unfortunately, most supervisors cannot really tell what they expect in this. But just bear in mind what other researchers said about your research interest in broad terms. If you go deeper in the theories, you may fine-tune it, but no. Don't worry about this one, because you will have vast amount of presentations, articles, books. Ooh, this will be the easiest to write. Now, the second main chapter of a PhD is discussing the methodology, how you will observe your research area or topic, the close subject. And actually, this is a very simplistic exercise. You need to write about the aspects of the methodologies, advantages, disadvantages, drawbacks, whatever. Even if you have critical thoughts, you can write them in footnotes. The main body of the text shouldn't really include too much criticism, because that may trigger other problems with your supervisors or your teachers. So you have your theory chapter. Some may say this is the literature review. I would say theoretical background. Then you have your methodology. Then you can have 1, 2, 3 empirical chapters about your findings. And there must be a chapter that discusses your findings. Now, discussion, that's what you need to remember, discussion. And eventually you have a conclusion and recommendations for further research, but that's absolutely the final thoughts. That I could write it within 1 or 2 days. It was nothing. Discussion. This is where you reflect to your theoretical and methodological questions and show what you found in the empirical chapters. And this is where you compare what your question was, what you got in the empirical chapters. So this can be written very easily as well, because once you set out your research question and the methodology, how to address them, then you have the empirical findings, you can just match them together. It's also easy to write. Now, you can also say that actually in the end you have the introduction chapter, what further former theories found about your topic, how you address the questions, methodology, 1, 2, or 3 empirical chapters, and then discussion, where you compare the former theories and methodological questions to your actual findings, and eventually you can write a conclusion. Now, it is easy to say that going through a PhD is easy. Well, it is easy if you have a good supervisor, but and this is the final comment, the third one. Don't work with anyone only if you know them from prior studies or prior work, because you will see there are surprises in the way as you go forward with your PhD. And retroactively, I spent 4.5 years on my PhD, which was meant to be 3 years. Yeah, I had to work during my PhD, so it was a drawback, but I lost most of my time because, well, my supervisors couldn't compose clearly what they expected me to do. And during my 18th month progress report, we were actually yelling And the big problem was that I could prove I was right. I could prove that the supervisors didn't give me proper advice. And I hope nobody faces that kind of situation. Also, a tricky way, if your supervisor is lazy, that's an exposure for you, because if you cannot finish it on time, because your supervisor is just lazy and they cannot deliver on time, actually you will have to pay more tuition fees. So it's a moral hazard by the supervisor, because their fault will eventually cost you. That's why I'm recommending everyone who wants to make a PhD should go to someone who they already know and trust. Otherwise, bad surprises are on the way. And yes, I agree with those people who say that the PhD is not a good way to do research. Yeah, it's not. After you went through the PhD, because that's when you learn how to write. So after a PhD, you can write a book in 1 year easily. And actually, what Umberto Eco wrote about a thesis, it is possible to write a thesis within 6 months. Yeah, it is. After rewriting my own PhD 5 or 6 times, I lost counting. I don't know how many times I rewrote it. Too many. But during 4.5 years. So practically 1 year should be absolutely enough for a PhD. Now, Umberto Eco also said that if someone cannot finish writing their ideas in 3 years, that's just a signal that they are not capable of composing their ideas. I knew my capabilities, I knew I was capable, and I proved it eventually, but oh god, that's a difficult situation. So, the 4 main recommendations. First, don't be worried about the word count. When you clarify your thought, it would be easy. And jump the master's course, go for the PhD as soon as you can. Second, you must be aware that the requirement from a PhD is actually very easy, and you need to be aware of the fact that you have to provide something additional value to the scientific thinking. It's crucial. We discussed the third main point, which is how to structure a PhD and what you need to compose in it. And this is the part where most supervisors fail, because they just can't tell you. And fourth, choose the supervisor who you trust. Hopefully this helps you, and good luck. And don't forget, if you need further advice, just let me know in the comments.